recording on the computer. So, you know, just to look at acrylic paints that we're going to need starting in the middle of next week. We're trying to find some paints, and there are some paint sets available at the bookstore. There are paint sets available at you know, Walmart across the street. But really, what I really need is yellow, red, and blue for this for the primary colors, and orange, violet, and green for the secondary colors. So these are not horrible, and these are the right amounts. And of course, the brushes are available at Walmart too. And what I also need you guys to do between now and then is to save any kind of a plastic container that you guys get for stuff in the kitchen. Sour cream, cottage cheese, yogurt, that kind of stuff, especially if you get it in big quantities like this, because this 5-inch in diameter lid is a fantastic little palette for actually putting little puddles of paint on, and then with your brush picking up the paint and mixing it and blending paint in the middle to do some paint mixing and blending, because we're going to do a lot of paint mix and blend as we work on our future projects. So you'll want at least a plastic lid like this, because it's something that can get washed off and reused a lot. And so plastic lid from a plastic container. Otherwise, the plastic container is also useful because we need to be able to have water in a container to rinse out and wash out our brushes with. And you know, if you've only got the containers and not the lid, you could even use the bottom of the container set down on the table like that. And this still works as a palette to put little dots of paint on, and then we can mix paint in the center, and we can mix paint in other places here. So plastic container, recycled plastic container is really good for this. And we're going to need paint. So it's time to really start looking for paint if you guys haven't gone out to buy paint yet. And we also need a brush, at least a medium-sized brush. And since they're so cheap that they come in these packages of 5, I kind of like these little packages of 5 brushes made with bristles on them. They're a little bit stiffer than just a hair brush. So a bristle style brush from Walmart would be great. Okay, any questions on paint possibilities for next week? I've got the participants list open, and I'm always looking over at you guys because I can see when you unmute your mics to speak, to either ask me a question or to say, yo, that's a good idea. I'm glad you told me all about all that stuff so I can go out and buy paint. So there's that. I'm going to change the video back to my face because I love my face here. Okay, so people, afternoon class. Amanda Merritt is right there. And Ezra is here. And Gabby is there. And Nick is here. Nick is here. And Skylar, right there. Okay, fantastic. So I wanted to once again take an opportunity to talk about stuff I've been talking about for 2 weeks, which you're probably getting bored with. But anyway, the idea of a graphic design. So if by this time you've been able to pull together a document, a Word document or something that has image and text in it, and you've been playing around with it for a while, and you know, if you'd like a little bit of feedback, please open that document up on your desktop. If you need to leave the Zoom to go ahead and open that document up and then jump back into the Zoom, that would be fine too. We'll be here when you come back. If you happen to have a document open, please go ahead and unmute your mic and say, hi, I've got a document open, and we can go look at your design and give you a little bit of feedback, make some suggestions, tell you how wonderful you are. It just kind of depends on whether you're wonderful or not. And I'm looking at over at all you. Oh, look at that. Nick is here. What do you think, Nick?
I have a thing I've been working on.
I can't hear you. I'm going to try to turn up my speakers. Say it again.
I have mine up. Can you hear me?
Okay, good. I'm going to go ahead and change the, yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I changed the screen share to multiple screen sharers. So now you should be able to click on screen share and then click on your document, and then it'll come up on the screen for us. And here we come. All right. Oh my gosh. You must be in the digital design program too.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I
Oh,
couldn't figure out how to do it in the Word document with the text boxes, but
hey, you've got the graphic design software, so you use the professional software. This is wonderful. Tell us a little bit about your first design.
so this is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and I really liked this quote, and it made me think about the protests and the raiding of the Capitol, so I kind of wanted to put those together.
Okay. Oh, I see. So both of these images and both of these lines of text are the entirety of the graphic design that you're working on. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, this is very ambitious. There's lots to look at here. So I like the font that you've chosen. It's kind of a headline kind of a font. It's a little blocky. It has sort of a Western feel to it, almost an Old West, but not quite. Do you remember what the title of this font is?
I think it was like a Gothic font of some kind.
Okay.
Forget.
Okay. They're funny in the way that they title fonts. And yes, something that's Old West could even be, I guess, considered Gothic in a way. It's a serif font. We can see all of the little serifs, the little grace notes beginning and ending each letter. It's kind of a fat font. Did you apply a bold to this, or does it come this bold?
It comes bold.
Okay, so it's kind of fat. We got really tight spacing between the letters, so that kind of helps. But it makes a strong statement because it's all caps and it's pretty bold as a font. So that's good. You want to make a bold statement, and you're making a bold statement. Okay. Um, so you've got the first part of it. We must learn to live together as brothers up above. And then you got an image showing a bunch of people who are working together as brothers. I mean, you've got the protesters and they're marching for a good cause. And I'm assuming that they're peaceful protesters and that they're all doing good stuff. And I see Black Lives Matter in the middle, and that's very nice. Great, 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 great. Okay. So those two kind of go together, and then I get it. It's the setup and the punchline kind of, except it's not a meme because you've got at least two different images here. So you've got the perish together as fools down at the bottom. So you're making a real strong statement here. How do you feel about how the statement is? You kind of put all of this together on a black rectangular background. Um, and so the text is reverse text, reverse type text. So it's white on black. Um, it's a little spread out for my taste as a graphic designer. I'm always trying to jam stuff closer together to make closer visual linkages in the composition. Um, so I don't know how you've been playing with this in terms of the spacing of stuff. Have you tried to move your lines of text any closer to the top edges of your two images?
Move them closer to the pictures.
Yeah, I kind of like click on them and drag them a little bit closer just to see if I could, how close I can get them. Sometimes I'll even drag it right on top of the image to see what it looks like if the text is superimposed over the top of the image. And then I'll maybe drag it halfway off so that I've got the text half on the image and half off. I do a whole
I
bunch
got
of stuff to see what's the best way to make the text legible, but to integrate the text as closely as possible to the image. Because otherwise, if there's too much space between the text and the image, then they're not as tightly integrated with each other. the text tends to float away from the image just a little bit visually. So it's a minor thing. I'm picking nits because I like your design, I like your quote, I like your imagery and all of that. I just was wondering, how much did you get to play around with this, with kind of organizing the space and pushing the text either closer or further away from your images?
I didn't get to play with it too much, but I did want to experiment with different fonts as well. I just kind of, with
Okay.
fonts, I have a hard time discerning which one's better than the other. But I think I might take this text and maybe um, put it on top of the picture here and try to maybe position the text here onto this image and maybe put these images closer together in general. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
you could try that if you take the font, the text, and put it on top of the image. You might have to try different fill colors for the text, so that you might try a blue or a red or an orange fill color in the text, so that it's in contrast to the background, because you've got busy backgrounds to work with,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's hard to put text on top of an image when you've got lots of texture and lots of different when it's really a busy kind of a background. So that is something that's harder to deal with. The second line, or perish together as fools, if it was a little bit larger so that it went all the way out to the edges of your image. See how your first one,
Yeah.
the line is the same length as your image pretty much. It'd be kind of nice if the second line, even if the text was bigger, to go all the way from corner to corner on your second image is a
Okay.
possibility. So I'm just throwing out some stuff for you to consider and play with if you want to.
Mhm. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any ideas that you might want to chime in on, that something that strikes you as interesting, funny, or any other inspirations for uh, to give some feedback here?
Um, Kind of what I was thinking with the picture and the text, because I know that I've been playing around with some other ideas as well. What I did was I put a filter on the picture itself to kind of make the picture hazy. Not so much to get rid of any like context in the picture, but just to kind of um, make it easier for the text to be seen. And then I thickened up the text as well. I enlarged the text and made it fill more of the picture, because I want more of that text to be seen rather than like the crowd, if that makes sense.
Uh
Yeah,
huh.
yeah,
And then I think as well, to kind of give some more balance, because right now it's very top heavy. If, like what you were saying, if you take or perish together as fools and you spread it apart, kind of give some more spacing in between the words, and then maybe crop the second picture so it's a little bit more thinner, but enlarge in it so it's as wide. Um, and then maybe like balance with like layers, kind of layering them in a way. I don't know. I think that might be cool.
Okay.
I like that. That would work. That would work well. And while you were talking, I was also thinking about, again, in Microsoft, just in their picture stuff, they have a vignetting tool so that you can apply a vignette to the, I think that's what it's called, not vignette. Um, anyway, you can put a dark halo around the outside edges of the photograph, and it's still lit brightly in the center, but the edges um, gradient gradient out and darken, and that's a little bit better thing to try to put a reverse text on top of. If you put a yeah, vignette, that's they've got a vignetting tool, so that's a possibility. And Photoshop is so much more stronger than some of these fly by night things that you guys have. Very, very powerful tools to play with here. And unfortunately, that's part of the problem, is that you've got 1,000 things you can do in Photoshop, but sometimes to achieve it, you have to do it in like by applying 3 filters on top of each other and 7 layers and stuff. And so sometimes it gets a little complicated. But anyway, that's, you know, part of the thing of being a graphic designer is using the tool, and you guys just have to keep using this tool over and over and over again. And about the 50th time you do a graphic design with the tool, then yeah, you're really starting to get comfortable with all of the functionality of it and find all of the different gizmos and stuff that work inside of Photoshop. It's good. It's huge. You got a good start here. And if there's anything that you can do to just kind of tighten things up a little bit, God, I know that's about the most horrible thing you could say to somebody. Can you just tighten this up a little bit? And the poor designer is going, what does he mean by that? So, but I heard you say you're still playing with possibly different fonts or possibly different sizes. So, you know, play around a little bit with it. See if you can just get a little bit stronger visual connections, visual linkages between the text and your images. But you've got a great start here. It looks good.
Thank you.
So thank you. You can hit the quit share thing, and we'll go back to me or us or whatever. And then if anybody else has one that they want to talk about or show, you're welcome to take a crack at this. And otherwise, I've got mine that I can just talk about and share a little bit today, because I was playing just a little bit more in my poor versions of this too. So Skylar's got his mic on, but if anybody else wants to play our game today, you can unmute your mic and come on forward. And otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and do it because I don't think anybody else has got much that they want to play with today. So I'm going to do the screen share. Well, who was that? What was that? Ezra, you're here. Okay. Oops, I got to come back to you guys. I'm going to stop my share. Okay. Ezra, did you want to show us yours that you're working on?
Yeah, I haven't changed it much, but there's two ideas I kind of have. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I remember this. So the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Okay, so this was a big text block that was over the left-hand side before. Now you've run it as two lines in front of two black boxes, top and bottom. You've opened up the photograph to show us a lot more of the jail bars, which is, I think it's a very effective thing. What you've done here is really, it's more effective than what you first had. So I really like this new version of it. That's good. What do you guys think? Now I've got another idea, and this is the controversial piece, because this is editing the words of a great person like Martin Luther King. But if I was going to be the total graphic designer, sometimes you take on the power of God, which means it's the power of being the editor. So on the first line, I might say the ultimate measure, and then eliminate of a man. Let's see. I might say the ultimate measure is, no, the ultimate measure in moments of comfort and convenience. No, I would try to cut out a couple of words of that sentence to try to make it a little bit shorter, a little bit pithier. The ultimate measure is not where you stand in moments of comfort and convenience. You know, if I rephrased it like that, if I paraphrased Martin Luther King and took a couple of those words out of there to make it flow just a little bit easier, it would also make it scan better and all of that. But where you stand at times of challenge and controversy. Yeah, I mean, it's just trying to just, you know, and I know that nobody has any comfort in being an editor, because right now you're just being asked to be a graphic designer. You're not supposed to be the editor too, but that might be a thing that could shorten up that first sentence or that first half of the sentence by a couple of words, to chop out of a man, you know, or something like that. And then substitute you instead of he. where you stand, and then you're losing the S off of stand too. But when you start chopping that stuff out and tightening it up and paraphrasing the quote, it can become more succinct and again a better communication. But I got to tell you, I love what you have done here with the image. Even at the risk of it actually taking on more of the format of a meme with the setup up on top and then the punchline down at the bottom, it's not reading as a meme. This is reading much more as a as a positive statement poster, so it's not a meme, and it's very powerful this way, so I like it a lot. Anybody else have any questions or comments for Ezra on this piece? What do you think, Ezra? Do you want to chime in on anything else before we go?
Like I've kind of a question. Is there a way that like you could make the box a bit transparentish, like the background of it?
Let's see. I don't know if, because you can change the color of it so that it would be a 10%, 20%, 30% gray halftone, but it's not a transparent halftone. It's a solid halftone, so it doesn't, it won't show the image underneath of it. I think in Microsoft Word, all you get is either a no fill inside the box, or a fill color or a shade of gray, but you don't get any kind of percentage of transparency or translucency in that. So that's not a tool that they have in Microsoft Word.
Right then. Should I stop sharing?
Okay, it looks good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else, for the good of the order, want to share anything? I wanted to show you a thing that I've got. I think I'm going to go do that, and then I'm going to come back and ask if anybody else wants to do anything. So here comes my little screen share. So I'm going to go all the way back up here again, because I just started doing this stuff in many, many pages of Microsoft Word, and so this is like a 5-page long document now. So I started off doing this kind of stuff, and again, I broke some of my stuff into different text boxes so that I could break it into individual phrases or whatever I needed to do, so that then I could work with pushing things closer and closer and closer together, or whatever I wanted to really, so that I could control the line spacing, the spacing between the lines and stuff like that. I guess I want to push this just over just a little bit more. And also then I could create this other kind of spacing where you can move your, in this case, your butt. I can move your butt around. And what I'm doing there is actually creating a visual pause in the phrase before the next piece of the phrase comes in, and that kind of thing. I did the American Carnage thing, and we've talked about that forever. This was one I was playing with last time, and I did not quite know what I wanted to do with maybe a rejoinder down at the bottom. I was playing with the idea of beating up on the Republicans, and so I made this Law and Order Party thing that I kind of threw up in there. Ha ha ha, we're the Law and Order Party, because they like to say that forever. But I've been listening to the news a lot, and there's been a lot of hand-wringing and opinion pieces that are out there in the last couple of days about people saying this is not who we are. When the Senate and the House came back into session on a week ago Wednesday, right after the riot, people got up to make speeches, and they would say things like, this is not who we are as Americans. This is not who we are. And I've seen other opinion pieces in newspapers and whatnot printed around the country about that. But the question is, isn't this exactly who we are? This is who we are, because this is what at least 20 or 30% of the American people think, because they're getting their news and stuff from other sources, and a lot of those sources are all about anger and rage, and cultivating anger and rage in the viewer, so that we, there's a feedback loop, and you kind of get addicted to anger and rage when you listen to talk radio and Fox News and whatnot every day, and look at those websites and stuff. So, there's a part of the electorate, there's a part of our culture that does not share the facts that are out there. But you know, the problem with propaganda is that you start believing the lies when they get repeated over and over and over and over again. Or actually, that's the effective part of propaganda. That's what makes it so effective. And that's why it works so well in authoritarian societies. And unfortunately, it also sells product, and it attracts viewers and clicks to your websites and stuff like that. And so people use that kind of stuff. When you guys come to college, we try to get you guys to think in terms of the ethical use of all of this power that we are putting into your hands. So whether you're learning how to write effectively and communicate effectively and make impassioned persuasive arguments to people, or whether you're becoming a web designer or a graphic designer and learning how to make those kinds of persuasions using not only words but also text too. You have to decide whether you're going to use your own, whether you're going to use a set of ethics to do it, in a fair and good way, or whether you're going to try to do it because you want to make money, or you're trying to get your side to win, or that kind of thing. And that is the main, the big challenge to all of us in life, is, do you do stuff in spite of knowing better and just because you want to win, because the ends justify the means, or do you do things because it's the right thing to do? So getting back to this little stupid design here, this is who we are, in a lot of ways. We have allowed this to happen. The people on the left of the discussion in this country haven't fought back hard enough. They just thought that, if they bide their time and defeat the party in power in the next election, then everything will be fine and it'll go back to normal. And there now is people who are enraged, and they thrive on rage. And so this is going to work itself out, but it's going to take a little longer to work itself out. And this is who we are. So we have to kind of continue to deal with the kinds of challenges that we've got in the society and in our culture. When I do the Martin Luther King project every year, I always hope that it will stick with people and not just be something that we do for 2 weeks and then it's one and done and we forget it and move on, but that this is something that actually affects you guys, and that is part of your character, and that it's something that you'll build on continually and keep working on this stuff. So anyway, this is who we are. I thought was a kind of an interesting rejoinder to all of that stuff. And I was playing with this stuff down here, and I'll get you guys out of the way for just a second. You saw this one last time, the lies we tell ourselves. I was kind of playing with that idea last time. And so I did this one about the lies we tell ourselves about politics. And I did this as a text box. This is all in one text box, and it's justified right instead of justified left. So that it kind of being justified right and ragged left, it kind of goes ragged left around his image and kind of works around him like that, which I thought was kind of interesting. So you guys can always play with whether you're going to justify text left or right or centered in a text box. That's another thing that graphic designers do all the time. And so I came down here with this continuing theme of, is this who we are? This is who we are. And I took it and I flipped it into a question by taking the this and the is and flipping them around. Then I went ahead and change the fill color for the word this to try to give it a little bit more emphasis. Plus, it's kind of interesting. The background is all whites and stuff. We've got white and gilt frames and a white marble statue over here. So I thought I'd throw some white into the word this here. And then I'm using a reddish orange here because it was brighter than just dull red to try to pick up the red in the flag too. So, I take some of my color cues from the image and then I apply some of those same colors into the text so that I'm tying the text to the image a little bit more strongly using color as another design element to play with text and image. So otherwise, you've seen the other junk that I was working with. But those are some of the things that I was, playing with this morning before my morning class. And just because I wanted you guys to see that, I can blast these things out and play with these things too. And so if I'm asking you guys to do one, I should be able to do 4, 5, or 6 of them. And I was really taken with the revolt, the insurrection, the attack on the nation's Capitol building last week. And so you can kind of see that I went sideways with this project and went that direction instead of just making this about civil rights and social justice. However, I still think that there is a connection between the insurrection and social justice and civil rights too. And so, the question is, can we make statements that are helpful, provocative, but that can be, persuasive and convincing to other people? So I've been talking for 35 minutes straight now, and there's not a lot of you guys here today, and you're pretty probably well done with your projects, except for a little bit of nudging, a little bit of changing, trying to get things to become just a little bit more in alignment, increase the strength of your visual connections between the text and the image in your graphic design. And so I'm always looking for those alignments or colors or other ways of creating stronger visual connections in the composition. But otherwise, I think you're on the right track. So next Monday, we don't have school because it is the Martin Luther King holiday. So while you're, taking the day off and maybe working on homework or other kinds of things, turn this thing in because it's due by midnight on Monday night. And then I will accept late ones for the rest of the week until Saturday without any penalties. And we will get together again for class next Wednesday. Next Wednesday at 1 o'clock will be the next time that we meet as a class. And we'll try to wrap this thing up. And then we're going to try to get started on making a color wheel because we are a color theory class and we're actually going to do some very kind of basic color things for the next couple of projects as we then springboard off into color and color theory. Do you guys have any questions or comments for the good of the order before we take off? Any questions for me? I know I go really fast and this is kind of like drinking from the fire hose here. If not, I'm going to bid you guys a fond farewell. Have a really good weekend. Have a great Martin Luther King holiday. And I will see you guys again on Wednesday of next week. So goodbye for now.